Hey, I'm Wendy Haynes,
And I'm Chris Steele.
and we're with the Institute for Gender Partnership. And we're looking forward to talking with you today about how men and women can work more effectively together.
And our objective in this context, as we have these video moments, is to optimize business results by engaging and fostering the most effective communication, leadership, and results with the businesses that we work with, specifically as it relates to most effectively leveraging the unique capabilities that each gender brings to the business. So let's get into it, Wendy. So what it takes for men and women to work better together.
Great. What does it take? It's a great question. What does it take for men and women to work better together?
Well, and one of the reasons that Wendy, you and I do this is that we've been around the block. I mean, we've seen lots of businesses, lots of different cultures, and we've become aware. We've been able to make distinctions on, cultures that are not healthy, that are kind of divisive, that actually cause rifts between men and women and create boundaries or create barriers between a good collaborative essence.
Yeah, companies, organizations where there's essentially an established status quo that is pretty reflective of the sexist culture that we all coexist within.
So as we confront this, it's the realization of why we're doing this. And frankly, in business, we get to be more effective. We get to be more profitable, generate more revenue, and create good constructs where the results are being gleaned, where the services that you provide are being done most effectively through higher productivity, a higher return on equity, and then a higher customer satisfaction rate. And when it comes to empowering and equipping women as leaders, that's really what it takes to do it. So as we delve into this one, how do we confront the division that's been created that we've seen? And the first component, I think, Wendy, is that openness, having that culture where you can be open and authentic in the ranks of business, right?
Yeah, openness, authenticity, very important elements.
Right. And I've seen situations where women feel stifled, where they don't feel safe. They feel like that if they say something, maybe a man with and again, I don't want to pigeonhole all men, but I've seen men with bravado and ego and testosterone get out there and they want to be drivers. And frankly, that's one of the things that makes men good at what they do. We call it convergent thinking. But I also think it's important to be able to put women in leadership positions where they can be more of a divergent thinker and oriented toward more strategic possibilities and make sure that it's safe for them to express themselves in that way.
Right. So if we're looking at creating a culture where men and women work well together, where everybody's thriving, where everybody can bring their best forward, right? You've mentioned the words openness, Chris. You've mentioned safety. We might even throw trust into the mix. And I look at those things and I think, safety and trust and openness doesn't just happen because you click on a light. Those are cultivated through behaviors. So that's where my mind goes, okay, so to create that kind of culture, we actually need to do something different. And so the things that you can do differently are to be aware of others, aware of yourself, bring a quality of listening, right, that is actually interested and is engaged with the other person and not just listening to the next thing that you're going to say, right? So a greater quality of listening. And then for me, the third essential element is inclusion, right? If we all stand in a commitment to inclusion, then our listening and the way that we're showing up is automatically going to be an invitation for everybody to bring their best forward.
Right. And then throughout this whole process, we got to, as you mentioned before, we got to kind of have that self-awareness and check ourselves around how effective we're being in this context. Are we promoting that inclusion? Are we listening more effectively? Are we allowing people to step up and be who they are in their greatness? And that's what leadership's about, right?
Yeah. And ultimately, men and women are responsible for creating an environment where men and women work well together, right? We both have our parts in it. But as an example, we might imagine a circumstance where there's a meeting, right? Maybe there's an executive meeting, and maybe in this meeting there are 10 people, and maybe 7 of them are men and 3 of them are women. And my invitation is for the men to be paying attention to how much airtime the men have versus the women. It is a common tendency in our culture where we're all conditioned in this environment of sexism for women to speak less and for men to just unconsciously feel entitled to fill the space. But just bringing that awareness, right, and that same curiosity and desire for inclusion can have us kind of, more conscious of how much space am I taking up, and actually how can I hold space for others so that we all have equal voice in the room.
I love it. So challenging men to be able to allow women to do what they do best, and then women, we got to challenge women to have the courage to step into that space. If you have something to say it. I've seen many situations where women are just they kind of hold back because they feel like they're not valued. They feel like they're not included. Well, part of it is just is consider yourself as a leader to be included and step up. That's part of it.
And I think that is, I just want to acknowledge that's easier said than done, because there's a lot of complexity that underlie our current conditions and our current behaviors, conscious and unconscious, that we bring to the table. And what we want to leave you with today is just the nuggets of what kind of listening are you bringing into your workspace? How can you be purposefully inclusive? And how can you be more aware of conditions that might exist that are a reason why men and women might not work well together? So your listening, your inclusion, and your awareness can be 3 things that you can start doing today, right now.
Right. And then to expound upon listening, most of us think automatically when it comes to listening. We call it binary listening. That's where you're listening from. And you're listening from a place of win-lose or agreement or disagreement or good or bad. What we call it is generous listening, where you're actually listening for, what could make this possible? What could that allow for us to do? How can that contribute to results? Say more about that. And we get to be that force, that leadership force in the boardroom, to be able to draw out men's capabilities and women's capabilities effectively.
Absolutely. So if you're a business leader who would love for your organization to be an environment where men and women work more productively together, where essentially you're positively affecting your bottom line in that process, go for it. Bring these concepts forward. And if you want more support, and if you want to take a deeper dive, we are here. We're passionate about this work, and we love coming into organizations to help you shift the culture to a gender partnership culture.
And one of the things we're offering is a complimentary 30-minute gender partnership assessment. If you're interested in learning more, making distinctions on what you may not know that you don't know about how to optimize performance, reach out to us. We'll schedule it. Wendy and I will get on the phone with you. Again, complimentary 30-minute session. And the best way to do that is you can reach out to me directly, chris@genderpartnership.com. So again, CHRIS@genderpartnership.com. And go ahead and check out the website, the Institute for Gender Partnership website at genderpartnership.com.
Great. So thanks for listening today. The solution requires all of our participation. So thank you. Thank you for stepping up and showing up. And we'll catch you next time.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Wendy.